Hello everyone, my name is Elliot Woninyika and welcome to this tutorial session where we are going to look at the Fuser Limited question. So most of you, I'm sure you wrote this question as either a concept test or as a homework. So please do make sure that as part of watching this video tag, you have got your script where you answer this question with you, because the idea of this revision is to make sure that as I'm going through the question with you, you are also comparing to what you did, identifying what you did right, and also identifying where you need to address the issue that you are picking out. So we're going to start off with required A. So required A asked you to restate the income statement of Fuser Limited's component division for the 10 months to 30 April 2018 on a variable costing basis, and to reconcile the difference in profit obtained as compared to the income statement presented under item 1. So what are the critical elements coming through in this required? The first thing is you've been asked to restate. What is meant by restating? It means something was done, which is what we're given in the case study. So you're now supposed to restate. And what am I restating? Income statement of Fuser Limited. Components division. So the income statement is for a period of 10 months. And how am I going to do the restating? I'm using the variable costing basis. Something interesting that is coming through there. So as I'm using the variable costing basis, automatically I need to ask myself, the original income statement in the case study was prepared using what basis? So if you go up in our case study, you can see that the way the income statement was prepared, it can be apparent that it was prepared using the absorption costing basis. How did I pick that one up? Because if I look at how inventory was valued, opening stock note 1, it includes the 10,000 variable material components, variable manufacturing costs, as well as fixed manufacturing overhead. So now comparing to what we've been asked to do, use variable costing. So variable costing, what is the difference with absorption costing? So the main difference is how you value your inventory. So in absorption costing, fixed costs are included in inventory valuation. But in variable costing, fixed costs are a period cost. What does that mean? It means fixed costs are expensed in the period in which they are incurred. So from a template perspective, if I'm now going to prepare a variable costing statement, this was our expectations. So you're going to have your sales. Sales then less variable costs. And this variable cost, I said variable, so it means all variable production and non-production costs. So once I've deducted this variable cost, I should be able to get my contribution. Then from the contribution, I'm going to less my fixed cost. Then I get my profit for the period. So at a minimum, this is what we expected to see in your answer. So go back to your script. Did you categorize variable costs separated to the fixed cost in coming up with the profit for the 10 months for the components division? So that was the first part of the required. The second part then said, can you reconcile the difference in profit obtained as compared to the income statement presented under item 1? So this profit that I've calculated using the variable costing method, I'm supposed to compare to the profit which is in the scenario which has been prepared using the absorption costing. So if you look at these two methods, the difference is around how we value our inventory. So the reconciliation, effectively, you were supposed to reconcile the fixed cost capitalized in the inventory item. So we're going to see that aspect when we actually do the requirement. So now the next thing that we want to do, we want to go through the scenario and see what were the issues that we're then supposed to incorporate in coming up with your profit using the variable costing basis. So this is the information provided. So I'm going to go line item by line item, discussing with you what were the issues that we were noticing and what we expected you to do. So revenue, 310,000. This one is simple. Revenue under absorption, revenue under variable is the same thing, 310. Then you come to opening inventory. So here we are given 37,500 and we are referred to note 1. So let's go to note 1. So note 1 is telling us that included in opening inventory is material components, variable manufacturing cost, fixed manufacturing cost. So remember, under variable costing, we don't include fixed costs. So it means our opening stock is only going to be equal to 25,000, 10 plus 15. And the same principle also applies for the closing stock. We are not going to include fixed costs in the valuation of our closing stock, so it's going to be 8 plus 12.5 is our closing and opening inventory. I hope all of you, that aspect was quite straightforward. Then, in my income statement, remember, I am still dealing with the variable cost, because we said on our costing statement, the variable cost should be clearly separated from the fixed cost, variable, fixed. So I'm going to deal with differentiate and say, is this a variable cost? Is this a fixed cost? So let's go back to our income statement in this scenario. So the next item in our income statement is we've got materials and components, 75,490. So this variable, definitely is variable, so we are going to put as is. Then we are given skilled labor, 21,000. And this skilled labor, we are given further information in note 2. So let's go to note 2. What are we told? Note 2, we are told that skilled labor is considered a fixed cost. So it means skilled labor, I'm going to put it under my contribution because it's a fixed cost. Whilst unskilled labor is variable in nature. So already I know unskilled is a variable cost, so I know where to put it. But for note 2, for the skilled labor, you should also have identified relevant information coming in note 4, where we are told that due to increased demand, except for certain items of plant and equipment, the factory has been operating at more than 100% capacity, resulting in an over-recovery of fixed costs. 2.2 million of the fixed production cost volume variance relates to an over-recovery of production overhead related to note 3. So what are we being told here? So we've got a volume variance of 4.4 as given in the cost in this income statement. And what causes a volume variance? So basic principle, absorption costing. So volume variance is under absorption costing. We are saying we calculate our fixed cost per unit. And in this case, because we produced more than budgeted, it means we over-absorbed our fixed cost. What does that mean? We expensed more than what we actually incurred, which is why we've got the volume variance. And we are told that 4.1, including this 4.1, 2.2 related to production overhead over-absorbed. But this variance in its entirety related to what? It related to fixed production costs. So based on the information provided, what makes up our fixed production costs? It is the skilled labor plus the production overheads. So how much did we actually incur in respect of the fixed costs? So our fixed costs, we actually incurred, skilled labor, we actually incurred 21,000 as provided in the scenario. So the 21,000, how did we get it? Under absorption costing, we said how many units were produced plus the rate per unit of skilled labor. But we are saying actual, what we incurred is we now need to take out the volume variance. So 4.1 minus the 2.2, which relates to the production overheads, so that we get the fixed costs or the skilled labor costs related to which were actually incurred, which gives us 19.1. So principle, you needed to know the principles behind absorption costing and volume variance, how they work. So I hope all of you were able to get this one in your income statement. Then the next item on aligning item was labor and skilled. So remember, unskilled labor, we were told that this was variable. So in our answer, this goes under our variable costs. So that one, no issues and no adjustment required. Then let's move on to the production overheads. 31,750. Interesting. And we're given note 3. So let's go to note 3. What are we told? So note 3, we are told production overheads were budgeted to total 28.9 at 100% capacity. For the 10 months ending 10 April, if the division was operated at 80% capacity, it is expected that the production overheads would have totaled 27,580 for the same period. So when I look at production overhead, definitely the question I'm going to ask myself, are they all of them fixed, or they are variable, or they are hybrid, fixed plus variable? So the fact that my production overhead cost at 100% is different to the one at 80%. It therefore definitely means I've got some form of variable component within my production overhead cost. So we expect you then to be able to calculate the variable cost in our production overheads. So I'm going to do a quick to show you what we expected you to do in terms of doing the calculation. So information at 100%. So at 100%, our overheads are equal to 28.9. Then at 80%, our overheads are equal to 27.58. So I'm sure from this information already we can know that we should be able to use the high-low method to calculate our variable component. So our variable component, we're now simply saying the 28.9 minus the 27,580, and we get the 1320. So 1320 we get is variable cost at what level? This is at 80%, this is at 20% capacity. Why 20%? Because we are saying the difference in the fixed cost from 80 to 100 they should only have increased because of variable costs. So from 80 to 100 they've increased by 20%. So what are our variable costs at 100% capacity? So we are now saying, so for those who love to use simple proportion, it means at 100% we are going to say 1320 divided by 20%. Then we get our variable cost at 100% capacity. Please note, at 100%. I'm sure some of you then automatically took this 6.6 as your variable cost you put in your income statement. But hold on, did we actually produce it 100%? So if you go back to note 4, it was clear that at note 3, it was clear that we did not produce 100% capacity. So we now need to calculate the variable cost actually incurred at the capacity that we were operating at. Happy? So now looking at this, how much are our fixed costs? So our fixed costs, we are going to say at 100% capacity, 28.9 minus the 6.6 variable cost at that capacity to give us a fixed cost of 28.3. So this one, remember, fixed costs ideally are not supposed to change at any given level of capacity. So this is the fixed cost that we actually incurred. So already I'm going to plug it in my income statement as my fixed cost. But I still haven't yet answered the question of how much in variable cost did we incur for the 10-month period in question. And like I said, it's not the 6.6. So let me go back to the information in my case study. So if we go back to our note 4, we are told that due to increased demand, except for certain items of plant and equipment, the factory has been operating at more than 100%. So I know for certain that we did not operate at 100%. So I can't use the variable cost at 100% capacity. And then in the case study, how much was recorded as our production overheads? We recorded 31.750. But in the 31.750, we had an over recovery of fixed production costs. So how does this work out? Let's go to our calculation. So on this one, how does this work out again? So we are going to say how much was recorded production costs as per the absorption costing statement. We have got 31,750 less volume variance. So we are told that of the 4.1, 2.2 relate to the overabsorption of production overheads, which means that our actual fixed cost production overheads for this period amounted to 29,550. Actual, we have taken out the effects of the overabsorption. So what next? Now I've got the actual fixed cost incurred. I now need to calculate actual production overheads incurred. I've got 29,550 less my fixed cost of 22.3. Remember that fixed cost number. So how much did we actually incur in variable costs for this period? It means that we incurred 7,250. Why is it different from the 6.6? So the 6.6 is variable cost at 100% capacity. Then the 7,250 is variable cost at the actual capacity for this production level. So I'll say that was the major item in terms of the variable cost. And I believe most of you must have struggled with treatment of the production overheads. So I'll summarize again the principles. The production overhead, the fixed and a variable element. So we're supposed to then determine how much with the fixed cost, and remember fixed cost remain fixed at whatever level of production. But variable costs will vary depending on the level of production. Happy? Okay, let's move on. So packaging, 6.51, straightforward variable. So they are going to go under our variable costs. Okay? Then we move on to the closing inventory. We dealt with this one. Fixed production costs, volume variance. So it means we have already dealt with this one. So it means under variable costing, we don't have volume variances. They are not part of our costing statement. Why? Because we have expensed the actual budgeted cost. But we then have this 100 expenditure variable variance. So what is this? So I am saying we had budgeted, for example, 22.3 thousand fixed production cost. But how much did we actually incur? We incurred $100,000 more. So it means in our costing statement under our fixed cost, we then need to include this 100,000. We are now lessing it. Same treatment. Then moving on to admin costs. So admin costs, note 5. We need to know, are they variable or are they fixed? Admin costs are fixed, so they go under our fixed cost. Other operational costs, you go again to note 5. Operational costs are variable in nature, so they are categorized under our variable, cost. Then finance costs, definitely these are fixed in nature, so they go under our fixed cost. So once you have completed that categorizing, what is fixed costs, what is variable costs, you should then be able to calculate your profit using the absorption costing method. It then brings us, now the profit you have gotten using this method, how does it differ with the profit you would have gotten using the absorption costing? So you are going to see that the profit after applying that you are given the case study, profit, I will say in case study, you are given 62,250. So we want to reconcile the profit that you would have gotten applying the variable costing method. So how do we do it? So I am saying we are going to add fixed costs in opening stock. Why? We are adding them back because opening stock, if you look at our income statement, it's reducing our profit. But then we are saying our opening stock under absorption costing was overstated by the inclusion of the fixed costs. So we are going to add back the 12.5 fixed costs. Then we are going to less fixed costs in closing stock of 10,250. And once we do this, we should be able to get the profit that you calculated using the variable costing basis. I hope this is all making sense. So this reconciliation was supposed to be very, very short. The difference between variable costing and absorption costing is mainly around how do we value our inventory, both opening inventory and closing inventory. I hope this session was fruitful for us and you have been able to gain a lot from watching this video. Thank you.